Hi everybody, welcome to day 10 of Steph's Take, my live stream series where I feature concepts from two books through the lens of the accountability evangelist. Today's books are The Oz Principle by Roger Connors, Tom Smith, and Craig Hickman, and How to Set Goals by Darrin, Wiggins. I finally figured out in order to show you the books, I have to step away from the camera so you can see them. Only took me 10 days to figure that out. All right, anyway, so let's start with the Oz Principle. What is that all about? Well, first I want to tell you that I became very passionate about accountability years before I encountered this book. In fact, I had been the accountability evangelist for a bit of time before I decided, well, wait a minute, maybe I should find out what other people are saying about accountability. So I started to do a little bit of research and find a book about accountability, and this is the one I found that was pretty popular. So I grabbed it and read it through, and I'm going to share with you the main concept that I carry from this book. But first, let me just explain what the Oz Principle is. It's referring to, of course, the Wizard of Oz, and in the Wizard of Oz, as you all know if you have seen it, the main lesson is that the main characters already had what they needed in order to get what they wanted. They just didn't realize it. What you may not realize in terms of a parallel to accountability is this. Don't get stuck on the yellow brick road. Don't blame, don't blame others for your circumstances. Don't wait for wizards to wave their magic wands, and never expect all your problems to disappear. So the authors take that concept throughout the book and kind of walk you through a path to stay what they call above the line. But I'm actually not going to go into that, so I'm going to invite you to read the book in order to find out those principles. But what I'm going to focus on is that main concept I told you about that I've taken from the book over the last several years. So I've talked about in the past, some of you have heard me say this, the leadership mirror, which is a concept that I introduced into my training for leadership that's based on accountability. And the leadership mirror is simply that, a mirror that you hold up to yourself first and foremost before you turn it around to other people and try to get them to behave differently. And when you put that mirror up in front of yourself, you ask yourself this question. What am I doing or not doing that is delaying or preventing my personal or professional success? That's the question that I pose. When I read this book, I had another question that I added, which is, what else can I do to rise above my circumstances and achieve the results I desire? In the last live stream about innovation, we talked about the word else, right? In Think Better, Tim Herson said, what else? When you're brainstorming ideas, what else can you think of? I really liked that idea. Because if you stop at my original question, you may only come up with one or two thoughts. When you stop there, I invite you to push yourself further by saying, okay, you've thought about it. What else can you think about? Because when it comes to accountability, there's always a ton of ways to do what you need to have done. So you have to keep pushing your thinking in that manner. The book also reinforces my emphasis on ownership. And so I want to read you a couple quotes and just, you don't have to confess if you've actually done this, because pretty much everybody has, frankly. But if you've ever heard this come out of your own mouth, beware. It's not my job. That's not my department. Someone should have told me to do that. I'm too busy to do it. Why didn't you ask me? So there's actually quite a few more excuses listed in the book, but the important part is their excuses. A couple others that I don't like, as you already know, I don't have time, and also there's nothing I can do. Okay, there is always something you can do. Another concept that I teach in accountability fundamentals is control versus influence. So you can control your own behavior and influence others, but there's more to it than that. You can't sit there and say, oh well, there's nothing I can do, because it's someone else who's behaving in some different manner that you don't like. You can influence everything and everyone through your own behavior, with limited exceptions like possibly natural disasters and things like that. But for the most part, you have tremendous ability to influence your circumstances, so you need to take ownership for them. All right, the next thing I want to follow or cover with you today in this book is something I found very interesting, and I'm going to call it the accountability trap. And this is when someone tries to trap you in giving away their accountability. This is how it goes. They say the following: just tell me exactly what you want me to do and I'll do it. Have you ever heard anyone say that to you? Usually it's after a frustrating conversation, maybe with your child or spouse or coworker or a direct report at work, where you're trying to urge them to do something and get something done, and they throw their hands up in the air and they say, just tell me what to do and I'll do it. So at first you might be like, yes, great, they're finally there, they're ready to do it, but the truth is it's a trap, okay? Unfortunately, again, I'm reading from the book now, unfortunately, such a plea, while seeming to indicate a willingness to change behavior, simply transfers accountability to a superior or someone else. Too many bosses perpetuate such an attitude by telling their people exactly what to do in difficult situations. Asking someone else to tell you exactly what to do represents nothing more than an advanced form of excuse-making, because it stems from the victim's desire to prepare his or her excuse before ever taking action. All right, I'm going to unpack that a little bit because it's so powerful. What's going on here is the person is preemptively putting themselves in the position to be able to say after the fact, well, I did what you told me to do and it didn't work. Right? So they're taking no responsibility for it. So do not fall into that trap. And we don't have enough time in this quick live stream to tell you exactly how to avoid that trap, but all I'm saying right now is don't do it. Next week, as the live stream series continues and we talk about a little monkey business, I will be covering that in more detail. All right, I'm going to close this book with a final quote. Remember, only when you assume full accountability for your thoughts, feelings, actions, and results can you direct your own destiny. Otherwise, someone or something else will. And we don't want that. Okay, let's move to the next book. So we talk a lot about accountability and what it is and what you should aspire to do. But how do you do it? The answer is through goal setting and execution. So this little book, which is a quick read, is chock full of really good quotes, like a ton of them. When I revisited this book, I was so pleased to see how many good nuggets are in here. So I'm going to cover this book mostly by reading quotes. We'll go kind of quickly through them. All right, so let's start with the first one. Goal setting increases the speed with which you get to live a life of fulfillment. So when you're trying to do something great in your life or you want to make a change, the best way to get there is to set goals and execute them. And what kind of goals, you might ask? Well, of course, I'm going to say ambitious goals, right? They have to be ambitious enough to get you excited. You do not have to set goals that change the world, just goals that will change your world. That's pretty powerful. Now, my preference is to do both, but not all goals have to change the entire world, okay? If you change yourself, you are changing the world because, as we said earlier, you can influence everyone. All right. The next thing is, so how do you figure out what those goals are? Okay, you want to get an ambitious goal, but how do you figure out which one to pick? Well, you need clarity. Clarity of what you want provides you with the power to get what you want. Okay? How does that work? Well, you need to laser focus in on what you're going after in order to develop a very strategic plan to achieve it. The other thing that clarity does is it gives you determination. And the determination is really important because this is going to take work. And you're going to have to not do things that you're used to doing in order to spend the time and focus to do the thing you need to be doing. Once you find yourself pursuing something you truly want, nothing you have to give up will feel like a sacrifice. That's how you know that you're onto the right goal. Okay. The next thing is a reminder about the leadership mirror that we talked about a few minutes ago as far as what am I doing or not doing, right? Find all the little things you do each day that are killing your chances of success or are currently adding to it. So it's actually a rephrasing of my question, except that it's very micro, meaning you need to analyze everything you're doing. Not macro. When I say what am I doing or not doing that is delaying or preventing my personal or professional success, you might say things like procrastination, for example. That's valid, but you've got to kind of dig in and see what the details are. What specifically are you procrastinating to do? What does that look like? You could really analyze your day on almost a minute-by-minute basis to figure out what actions are serving you and what actions are working against you. Okay. Like I said, it's hard work. It takes sacrifice. Do you want to put that effort in? If you aren't willing to do the work to create change, you will also need to stop complaining how life isn't giving you what you want. Okay, that is the victim mentality. So you have two choices. Either get it done or get the help you need to get it done. Right? There's no shame in asking for help. I'm not saying you should do everything on your own. Right? The point is, though, be resourceful. Use the tools that you have. That includes asking for help from other people. However, there's no option 3, and I've said this many times when I present in front of a group. Again, either get it done or ask for help. There's no option 3. You may be wondering what option 3 is. Option 3 is not getting it done. Right? That's not a good option. Right? So make a decision, get it done, get help. Either way, commit to it and make it happen. And when you do that, the good news and the bad news is you have no one to blame but yourself. Okay? That sounds like a really bad thing, right? Bad news. It's really not. It just means when things don't go your way, well, what can you do differently? And when things do go your way, guess what? It's time to celebrate. But really, either version is a celebration because you're taking full ownership. And that is awesome. All right, that's it for now. I'll see you next time.